The party's going on. Thank God it's Friday.
Now.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Realm presented by ProFootballDebate.com. I'm here joined again with Brandon, aka BPappy, and we have an absent Al Suchi again. I guess the key to never get Al back onto the show is he just has to come into dead last into our draft. Then he has to chug, and then all of a sudden he gets tummy aches and scared of the monster under his bed, or gets the WNBA finals. So we'll see what it is on Friday when he backs out. But for now, we have our last place finisher, BPappy, gonna show up and gonna chug his beer. So we'll start our show off with that, and then we'll start kicking off with some fantasy football news. What are you chugging tonight, Brandon?
Well, since I lost for a second time, I'm gonna do a stout and a big one. It's a big can or whatever. It's a Toppling Goliath s'mores pastry stout. So,
okay,
one that I've had hiding out in the fridge, but since I lost again for a second time, I figured I had to punish myself. So it's gonna take me a while though. So you talk about something.
So while you start chugging, I'll just start talking about some news, and then we'll go from there. So
Salute.
Right. Cheers. All right, so we had some news today. Came out, Justin Jefferson's hitting IR. That's pretty big. Rookie phenom Devin Achane is also probably going to IR, minimum missing a couple weeks. And James Conner is also getting sent to the IR. So those are three guys that are probably in our fantasy lineups. Achane, we probably were looking for him to put our team over the hump, because he's been just a big play waiting to happen, kind of Jamal Charles-esque, to start off the season. So, those three injuries, what kind of impact are they going to have? What's your thoughts on those, Brandon?
The Jefferson injury, obviously. Yeah, the Jefferson injury. It's a bad break for a lot of fantasy owners because they took him super high. I think some replacements that you can find on the pickup or waiver wire is KJ Osborne. I think Addison might be, I don't know his ownership. Addison is probably there, but I'm interested to see between the two. I like Addison a lot. I think he's, kind of hasn't really busted out. Obviously, it boosts Hawk. I think that's one maybe people are looking at at picking up Osborne or Addison, but in reality, you see like what happened with Kansas City and their lack of receiving. They go to Kelsey, right? So I think it definitely boosts Hawk. Might see Madison maybe catch a few more balls out of the backfield, get involved more. I don't know if it really does anything for Cam Akers. We'll see how that snap count plays out. I still don't like Madison, so I'm probably not doing anything with him, but definitely Hawk, and then one of the two between KJ Osborne and Addison, if you can add them. Look to fill in, what's going to be missed from Jefferson, and he's out for 4 weeks, so it, like I said, at least 4 weeks. It's a bad break though for fantasy owners because they took him so high. So it's one of those things you just in a redraft league, you're like, man, it's one of those years. So
yeah, it hurts. And then so I think, I agree with that assessment. I think Hawk probably benefits the most from it, and then Addison. Osborne, he's a good ad. He's probably hidden in that receiving core. He probably got really hurt by the Addison draft. But I think that if you have Jefferson, what are you going to try to do? If you're 1-4, you got to try to flip them to a team that's winning and at the top. You have to get what you can get for them, because a team that might be thinking playoffs, you're gonna have to trade them. And if you're in that position where you started off hot, you're 4-1, you're 5-0, you're sitting pretty. He's a target, dude. Find him. If that guy's on a low team that's gonna struggle to make the playoffs, every week I'm sending in offer for Justin Jefferson, because he's, if he comes back, which he probably will. It sounds like he is. He's going to set your team over the top. So savvy owners at the top, target him. And then, if you're at the bottom and you're struggling, you got to move them. So hopefully you're in a league with enough activity to get those types of deals done.
I just say strategically, if you're at the bottom and you have Jefferson, it might be worth it to try to, maybe not necessarily go all the way up to the top, but go to someone in the middle of the pack that thinks they're going to make the playoffs at the end of the season, and Jefferson would be a boost for them.
They're not going to give you what the guy at the top will.
True. I think it's always interesting how that plays out, like who will give up what. But yeah, it's you're not going to probably get what you would at the top. But I also don't see guys at the top budging if they're winning, right? They're not going to want to get rid of guys.
I'm in a redraft league and I'm 4-1, 5-0, or I'm 3-2 with top 3 points scored in the league. I'm 100% going in for Justin Jefferson. So I'm saying I'm gonna make the playoffs. I don't care if I get a bye, because when I'm gonna hit them playoffs, I'm gonna have Justin Jefferson for some spare change. I'm gonna trade Jalen Waddle, and George Pickens for him, which that team that has him is gonna love having. He's gonna love getting that, and then you get a superstar for that. So,
hold on, we got a special guest.
Oh, new to
join the show.
New to the podcast.
Here he is.
So the WNBA game just ended. So
the WNBA game is not on until tomorrow.
Oh, my bad. He's just doing his prep. Al also runs a WNBA podcast. It's called thebitchal.com.
Subscribe, share, like. What's up, guys?
Hey, Al.
What's going on?
Welcome.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all good. So we just wrapped up our Justin Jefferson news and how that impacted. So we're going to kind of try to translate into a couple of the other big injuries from a fantasy perspective that happened. James Conner going on IR has been one of the few bright spots in a poor Arizona offense. Are you guys rushing to the waiver wire for Keontae Ingram or the guy's name I can't pronounce?
Amari DiMercado.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I think that's the whole purpose of the waiver.
Which one?
I mean, DiMercado looked good, right? He was rushed for 10 carries, like 46 yards. So
he did look good.
Efficiency there. I like that. Yep.
I think you're gonna get
go
ahead, Al. Sorry.
My signal, I think, is pretty bad right now. I'm gonna hop out and then I'm gonna come right back. Sorry, guys.
You're good.
So for me, I'm going Keontae Ingram over him. I don't think you see the Amari DiMercado show if Ingram doesn't get if he's not inactive last week. So I'm gonna be more hyped to the Ingram show, but I could be wrong. This is not something I'm extremely confident on.
So the depth chart, at least from ESPN, has DiMercado as the starting back, and then Ingram as the second string, but Ingram's also questionable. So again, we talked about that last week. Questionable tags are, we just kind of automatically think they're playing, but it's going to be 4 weeks, at least minimum, and who knows if not longer for Conner. So I think if you are a Conner owner, you gotta go out and do something, whether it's depends on what you have on your bench, right, and who you can plug in for him. But going out there and adding somebody if you don't have a backup would be worthwhile.
I'm not super excited about either's output. I think James Conner is very undervalued as the type of running back he is. He's extremely tough. He's good at all facets of the game. He just went to Arizona and they imploded, and he stuck it out because that's just the type of character guy he is. So I think he's an exception to the rule. So I'm not going to be I'm not going to go nuts over Ingram or DeMarcado. I mean, I'll put in a bid for him. I'm not going to spend all my money on him. And if I get him, cool. But neither excite me. I just think it's more Marquise Brown action coming forward, and probably more Rondell Moore, I think, is who probably honestly benefits the most. Is you'll probably see the Cardinals and try to get Rondell more snaps out of the backfield that they wouldn't have done with James Conner. So to me, the biggest beneficiary is Rondell Moore.
That's probably true. But for the sake of, like, if you're watching this on a Wednesday morning, you'd like to know some information on potential waiver pickups. Those guys are worth trying to grab off of waivers, right? If nothing else, to try to strong arm the James Conner owner that doesn't have another option. So definitely worth it. I agree, though. I'm not going out and spending all my blind bid bucks, all my free agent bucks on them. That feels like, but there's some value to them. That feels like almost like a 10%, like a 10% play there on your blind bid bucks.
Yeah, for sure. So the last one is this one sucks because, I think everybody was getting excited about it, but the Achane news that he's going to be out, and they didn't put him on IR, but they said he's going to miss a couple weeks. I haven't really read what's happened. Is it a knee issue? Did it just swell up? Did he have a knee issue in college? I don't know. He was a Devi darling, but I didn't have him, so I didn't pay attention to his college career. Really, if you took my advice and sold him, and now you're probably wishing you had Mostert. But I think that backfield was becoming Achane's show, and now if you have them both, then who cares? It's a clear. You're going to start Mostert for sure, 100%. That the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I had Achane and he was a pleasant surprise. I had him starting the year. I had him on the bench, and then obviously he blew up and started playing him, and he was getting me a lot of points. I think there's two scenarios that you really have at play. You either drafted Mostert and then had Achane and as a handcuff, and you're okay if that happened. If not, you picked up Achane, off the waiver wire after in a redraft league. You got him when he busted out and you started playing him. Now you're in a position where you got to go out and find somebody else, right? I don't know that anybody can really fill the gap that he's been producing at. So that part does suck. Not as bad as Jefferson, right? You didn't draft him super high for the most part in a redraft league, and he was a pleasant surprise. But for those guys that were plugging him in and had him rolling and getting you some key wins probably the last couple of weeks, it's kind of kicking the pants. So that does suck.
I did find it interesting that he waited until he had like his coming out party to make a statement to the media to clarify how his last name is pronounced. And he said it is Devin Achane, not Achane.
Sorry.
But he waited until he had like one decent game, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, now that I'm in the spotlight, it's Achane. If y'all don't mind getting it right."
Yeah.
It was like Khalid Raymond. Everyone in Detroit was pronouncing his name wrong for a full year, and then once he returned a punt for a touchdown, he was like, "That's not how you pronounce my name."
Yeah, it's not Khalif. Not Khalif.
Okay, Achane.
So,
sucks to lose him.
All right, so and then the last bit of injury news, at least that we have on our docket for tonight, is that Deontay Johnson's supposed to come back. That offense has been pretty bad. Do you guys have any excitement towards that? Is that boost Kenny Pickett for you? Are you
Kenny Pickett is his quarterback. Kenny Pickett's his quarterback. So I'm out on that offense, really, unless there's a run game to support the pass game, which Najee Harris has been on the side of every single milk carton in the greater Pittsburgh area. I'm out on every single offensive player in Pittsburgh. Pat Freiermuth, don't care. Pickens, don't care. Deontay Johnson, don't care. I'm out on them all.
So Pickens did have a great week last week, but I think whatever toxicity that organization has going on is made its way into the locker room. The whatever's going on with is it the offensive coordinator Matt Canada or whatever it is, whatever they're doing with their running backs, like the snap counts are being split between Najee and Jalen Warren. You know, you can't really rely on a back there. You don't. Kenny Pickett's not really performing, you know, as a solid quarterback. There's a lot going on there, so it's those situations. While it's more football talk than fantasy, they do translate into the fantasy results. Obviously, you see it with the guys you have. I mean, I have Pickens. I had to start him this week because I had bye week with Keenan Allen, and I only started him because of that. For that reason, I had to plug somebody in, and that was the guy that I had, right, that I thought would potentially do something, and he had a great week. But he's not a guy I can reliably count on. And Freiermuth's been okay. He's hurt last week. Yeah, he was hurt this week or this past week. I don't know what his return timetable is. I haven't checked on that, but yeah, they've been mediocre at best. I mean, those guys, you would think that the players that they have that they would do well, but yeah, I think it hurts Pickens with Deontay Johnson coming back. Obviously, I don't know what it's he wasn't really doing anything before he got hurt either, so. Interesting situation there, but from that, whatever's going on in that org with the coaching staff, it's a big kind of stay away sign for me, unless you just absolutely have to play him like I did with Pickens this week.
Yeah, my criticism of Kenny Pickett might be a little bit harsh. Matt Canada is a giant pile of trash, and I don't know how he still has a job. It's probably more on Matt Canada than it is Kenny Pickett, but either way, sure. I'm out. I'm not interested. Also, I didn't mention on the Achane topic. He's a running back that's 5'9" and 183 pounds. If you are all in on Achane, prepare to recycle this headline multiple times over the course of his career. He's the only running back maybe in the league who his head coach is bigger than, and and his head coach is the goofiest, tiniest little dude on the planet. He's too small for me to put any massive stock into. I'm sure I'll be wrong on that, but that's a big concern for me if you're going to keep running between the tackles like they've been running.
Yeah. He hasn't been getting touched much, but and that's another thing I don't really want to elaborate too much in it because it's not really on the menu tonight, but Tajay Spears isn't that same thing. Like, the guy's got chronic knee problems. Like, redraft, who cares? But for Dynasty, Tajay Spears is Jay Ajayi to me. He's just going to fall off the face of the earth. Next year's probably Tajay Spears' coming out party. I think Derrick Henry doesn't really look very good. And I think they're probably going to get rid of him. And then it's going to be a Tajay Spears show, but he's only got about probably a year and a half. And then his knees are going to start giving out on him. But we talked about Najee Harris and how he looks like he runs in mud. So he was actually on my list of a guy that, like, I'm done with. I'm absolutely 100% out on Najee Harris. He doesn't run good. Last year we kind of saw it coming where he just looked like he was just running into people. He lost his vision. Does he not care anymore? Another guy that I'm all out on, and for different reasons, is Delvin Cook. I wasn't in on him anyways, but it's clear that the Jets know that the best way for the Jets to score points is to ride Breece Hall, and Delvin Cook is going to take a back seat to that. So I'm 100% all out on Delvin Cook and Najee Harris.
Najee Harris, like, I've never liked Najee Harris. There are so many fantasy football quote unquote experts that were all in on Najee Harris being the RB1 for 2023. I never saw it. I'm not. I didn't expect him to be as unproductive as he is right now, but I certainly never saw I
thought he'd be a volume guy. I thought he'd get more volume with a little bit more productivity. He was worse than I thought. I thought I went and targeted him in a league, got him for pretty cheap, and I thought that I would be able to get a good, return on investment on him. And I always thought I was going to flip him, and I did. I just didn't flip him for what I thought I would. I thought I'd be able to flip him for a 24-1 plus a player like Tajay Spears or
Yep.
any James Conner type of guy, right?
Yeah.
And
It's the curse of
I ended up getting a early 24-2 in Condre Miller, and I had to throw him Sam Howell, which I still think is a great deal for me because I'm a Condre Miller guy, but he hasn't looked great either. So,
Yeah.
It's like the curse of Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh. It was James Conner that came in after him, right? Had a couple decent years,
it's good.
and then Najee Harris came in behind James Conner, I think.
I just got to bring back touchdown Willie Parker. Bring him back.
I mean, I thought Najee was gonna be a stud there just because they've always had. That's the same head coach with Mike Tomlin, right? It's not a lot's changing. And he just kind of fell off the face of the earth this year. Again, though, I don't know what that coaching, what's going on with that coaching staff. But
so yeah. I just gave you a couple of guys that I'm done with, and I know I didn't give you guys opportunity to talk, so it's your fault, not mine. Here's a couple guys. Oh, another one I'm done with. I'm sorry, I have one more that I'm done with, and it's Lamar Jackson. He's terrible. Can't stand him. He's not a stud. If you've seen reading articles and people are calling him a must start, they're just a robot.
Yep.
He's been terrible.
Yeah,
so,
because he used to score 40 points a game for you 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, and I thought the new OC Art Monken would really help that offense. But he's lost, dude. I don't know. That guy, the Ravens might be in a lot of trouble with that contract they just gave out. Two guys I want to highlight, and I'll talk about them. Maybe you think about somebody that you think is severely undervalued right now. I'm going to start with the Falcons tight end, Jonnu Smith.
Yep.
He's top 5 in yardage at a tight end position. He's getting 5-6 catches a game. His catch percentage is extremely high. I think he'll get 6-7 targets a game, and he brings in almost all of them every week. He's not a sexy option, but he's a great tight end too, because he's going to get you good yardage and he's going to get you 5 to 6 catches a game. I think he's probably on the waiver wire in a lot of leagues. I would 100% bring him in.
He just needs to score. He doesn't have a touchdown yet on the year, which is irritating.
That's the Atlanta offense. So
right.
You got to keep in mind, and you have a guy like Jonnu Smith. He's a bye-week filler. He's your guy's hurt. Kelsey got hurt. Maybe you don't have a backup because you thought you're just going to roll Kelsey in every week. Jonnu Smith is, and those touchdowns, they come for tight ends. I mean, he might end up with only 3 touchdowns, but you're not gonna take the risk of a Higbee dud game, which Higbee will throw. Higbee might one week is going to get you 11 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown, and then the next week is going to give you 2 catches, 9 yards. Some other streamers, Cole Kmet is going to do the same type of stuff. Cole Kmet is going to be easily phased out, tough defense. Another streamer is who's another tight end streamer?
I like Dalton Schultz.
Yeah,
coming off a big game this week, 10 targets, 7 catches, had a touchdown.
Yeah,
they're going to throw the ball in Houston.
They are, and he's going to rotate targets. They're all over, so that's a good one too. But my second one I want to talk about that I feel is underrated and undervalued is Josh Reynolds in Detroit. If you rule out that goose egg game against Atlanta where he didn't get targeted at all, he's been awesome. I think I saw a stat today. He's got 16 catches and 16 first downs. He catches the ball in critical moments, and Goff trusts him. So I think a lot of the fantasy community is going to want to get all hyped up on Jamison Williams and what he can do for the offense and the catches that he can do, but he's not. Jamison Williams is the 4th target at best.
And he's going to be boom or bust, I feel like. He's either going to have a huge play for a touchdown or he's going to miss balls that are thrown to him across the middle because he gets scared about being hit.
When it comes down to it, Josh Reynolds he's going to be targeted in the red zone. He's the best red zone target they got. I mean, Sam Laporta's probably pretty good at it, but he hasn't shown it. You know, Josh Reynolds has shown the savvy footwork, the body control, the route running ability to get open and make the tough catches in the red zone. Yeah, I don't know his availability, but Josh Reynolds could be that guy you're going to plug in as your wide receiver 3 with decent touchdown upside to help you get over your Jefferson loss or whatever you need to transition down to for other points. He could be your ad. So, Al, you mentioned Dalton Schultz. I do agree with that one. I think that's a nice low key because he's just not sexy, and he's not going to have a great week every week either because as we've seen, CJ Stroud is playing like a 10th year veteran right now. He's just going to what the defense gives him, and they're going to throw a lot. So 2 guys in that offense every single week are going to be startable, but you're predicting which 2 it is. You know, next week it might be Robert Woods and Nico, and then the next week it's going to be Robert Woods and Dalton, and then the next week's going to be Dalton and Nico, and then Tank Dell's going to be back, and then it's going to be Tank Dell and Brevin Jordan. I saw there was one week he was getting a bunch of red zone targets. He didn't catch them, but he was getting red zone targets. So, but at the tight end position at that, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like Dalton Schultz. I'll still bang the table. Ferguson too. I like Jake Ferguson a lot. He's getting a fair share of targets. I don't really like Dallas. I don't like Dak Prescott, but I do like Jake Ferguson. I think he's another one just to kind of keep an eye on, and certainly a decent little streamer option also. And a rookie, right? I think he's a rookie.
Ferguson,
no, he's got 1 year experience. He's a second year. Yeah, that's right. You know who else I like as another guy that you can keep an eye on, and he's going to be owned in pretty much every single league that you're in, but maybe somebody you can look to acquire that I think is getting a lot of targets right now, and the offense is starting to click on more cylinders is Christian Kirk in Jacksonville. Everybody loves the Calvin Ridley player. He's owned everywhere, but he's still a guy. 92% rostered on Sleeper. But in the last 2 weeks, he got 20 targets in the last 2 weeks, 162 yards over the last 2 weeks. So he's not a guy that's going to be super sexy in the box score, but he gets it done. And in a PPR league, volume matters, right? So
if you had a gun to my head and you told me what Jacksonville Jaguars receiver I had to start in a neutral matchup, PPR, I'm taking Christian Kirk because he's more guaranteed than Ridley. Right. And, you know, Zay Jones has got the huge touchdown upside. Like he's that guy that will have the biggest game. Ridley's pretty good, but Christian Kirk, I mean, I watched a little bit of the game against Buffalo, and when he was open, he was wide open. He ran routes that just sprung him open. So yeah, I like that one. He's not very he is undervalued. You're right. Yeah, he is. He's definitely a guy that you can probably target to trade down if you're a struggling team, if you're 1-4 right now and you're trying to go down and get a couple assets because, you know, you planned on Brandon Cooks being relevant this year, or you missed out on a couple other pieces. He can be a nice transition down piece for you for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
You got anybody, Brandon?
Not necessarily. I think one thing I do want to do for Friday's recording / Saturday's post, we've talked a lot about water finding its level, and obviously this would exclude rookies, but fantasy football is very reactionary, right? Week to week, this guy did this, and now I'm going to start him because he scored a bunch of points. I'm going to go through and find 5 guys that are not scoring on production. Not somebody like Derrick Henry, who's aging and likely on his way, out of Tennessee's system, like we talked about, but players that have been underperforming to this point. I think this week we saw it with Jamar Chase as a big one. We talked about the Bengals and that offense just can't be held down for that long. Joe Burrow's going to bust out, things like that. There's guys that are sitting outside of the, the spotlight, so to speak, in the top 10 rankings that we know will make their way. And we saw it in tight ends, right? I think Cole Kmet is one, right? He's probably going to be a top 10 tight end, year in and year out based on what we've seen so far. But beginning of the season, he was nowhere to be found in those rankings, right? Now he's busted in and he's top 3. Again, saw it with Jamar Chase. He was sitting outside. He busted back in, I think, 2 weeks ago with a decent game, and now he's probably back up near the top of those rankings, right, for wide receivers. So it'd be interesting to kind of break that down and take a look at some of these guys. I think someone like Mark Andrews, like you mentioned, done with Lamar Jackson. I think I'm probably done with Mark Andrews. I don't know what's going to happen there. I think like Zay Flowers are stealing some of his receptions. He just hasn't been producing like they have been in Baltimore in years past. So that's one I think I can exclude as well. But there's a lot of frustrating guys. George Kittle is one of those guys. It's like 1 week he has 19 points, another week he has 0. Where's he going to balance out? Where has he been, previously, inconsistency, things like that. So I'm going to take a look at that, just kind of break it down and see if I can bring some conversation to you guys on that and kind of look at that perspective.
Yeah. I think it's important to note too, when we sit here and we say like, oh, I'm done on this guy, right? Like I'm done on Kenny Pickett. I'm done on anybody in the Pittsburgh offense. You said you're done on Mark Andrews. We're not just going to drop these guys, right? We're going to try.
No, just start. Yeah.
We're going to try to move on from these guys. Like I would rather try to capitalize on Mark Andrews being considered a top 3 tight end in all of fantasy football and seeing if I can grab, maybe a Christian Kirk to solidify my wide receiver core and maybe a tight end that that might be, like a Zach Ertz or something like that.
Would you trade Mark Andrews for Christian Kirk and Dalton Schultz if you needed the depth?
Yeah, I would. I love 2-for-1s.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be comfortable with that. Yeah. If you're in the camp that is out on Lamar Jackson and out on that Baltimore offense.
Well, that's everybody but Baltimore's fans.
Yeah. So talking about trades, can I run something by you guys real quick?
Yeah,
sure.
I wouldn't do it.
So we had a that's fair. I had somebody reach out to me and was seeking some trade advice. And I'll add a little context here. So this is a redraft league. All right, redraft league, 12 teams. Only 6 of the 12 teams make the playoffs. All right. This person that reached out is currently 1-4 in this league. So he's trying to make a move to try to get into the playoffs. He has probably the singular most valuable fantasy asset out there right now, which is who?
I mean, CMC probably.
Christian McCaffrey. He's got Christian McCaffrey on his team. The first place team is reaching out trying to trade for Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. At first, I said, I don't think I'm trading Christian McCaffrey unless I get like a top tier wide receiver or something along those lines in return. Like the initial offer was for CJ Stroud, Jonathan Taylor, and Kyron Williams, but they wanted Christian McCaffrey, Danny Dimes, and a decent wide receiver. I don't remember who it was. But I said, I don't like it because you're giving up the best player in a redraft league. I don't like it. So I said, if you're going to do it, try and reframe it so that you get a pretty decent wide receiver in return and maybe like I don't know. I don't love quarterbacks, but and this is a 1 quarterback league. It's not super flex. So 1 quarterback league, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, and a tight end. So he ends up texting me. He was like, hey, I reworked it. I am getting a deal done. I was like, all right, what'd you end up giving up? So tell me what you would do. Would you give up Christian McCaffrey, Danny Dimes, and Calvin Austin III in return for Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Zach Moss? Brandon, what do you think?
I don't know his roster.
So yeah, I would say that's the other maybe variable. But from a strictly numbers perspective, so I had this debate at the beginning of the season because I talk to you guys about it. It also depends on the scoring and if a QB touchdown is 6 points or 4 points.
4 points.
Standard. So
4 point touchdown.
So the standard 4 points. That's tough. So McCaffrey's averaging about 27 points in standard PPR.
Which is outrageous.
Right. Does he continue that? San Francisco's good. And I don't know if he's going to. But your average quarterback, and if I actually go to it, you can see from a numbers perspective, Josh Allen leads quarterbacks at 23.7 points.
Oh my God. No, I wouldn't do it.
No?
No.
I would.
This is what he was starting. This is what he was starting beforehand. It was Geno Smith or Danny Dimes. His wide receivers were Hollywood Brown, Josh Downs, Rashid Shaheed, T. Higgins. Running backs were Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris. Tight end, he's got Darren Waller and Cole Kmet. So he had a bunch of guys that were probably drafted pretty high and expected to do well, like Najee Harris, Darren Waller, T. Higgins. Those are guys that were probably drafted on the higher side that have been a big letdown. So now he's rolling out Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Hollywood Brown, Najee Harris, Zach Moss, Darren Waller, and then he's still got Rashid Shaheed and T. Higgins.
I'd rather have the upside of Christian McCaffrey's blowing up and win you a week.
That's kind of what I said. Now at 1-4, I get it. You got to mix
it up. That's the best thing you can do. I just think the Zach Moss thing is a savvy move by the previous Zach Moss owner.
The previous Zach Moss owner tried to first deal him Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, but with CJ Stroud and not Justin Herbert.
Right.
And without Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't like it. I think that the definite winner here is the guy in first place.
In a redraft league, I'm always going to side with you want the hammer. Give me the hammers. Give me the McCaffreys. Give me the Jeffersons, the Chases.
And I just think, Danny Dimes is nothing. Kelvin Austin's nothing. So
You're essentially trading Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen for Christian McCaffrey,
he's
and that
fucked at running back.
He is, but you're gonna get more points on average per week between Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert than you are Christian McCaffrey.
He's gonna get ass raped every single week at running back position. He's the worst running back position in his league. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
but
you're not playing position versus position. You're playing total points. So if you're getting a 2-for-1 where
you still got to consider the net result, right? Like he's going net result McCaffrey to Moss is a negative whatever. Net result, Geno to Herbert is a positive, and
now Geno, who's
Josh
just
Downs
fine,
to Keenan is a pretty good positive.
Geno is just fine. I would have told him to take Herbert.
I said the same thing about Geno. The move is really, and the reason I like this one to present to Brandon is because I know he's a big time Keenan Allen lover. Rightfully so. Keenan Allen's sweet.
I like Keenan Allen.
I do too. That's the big increase. Now he's going from a Josh Downs to a Keenan Allen as a starting wide receiver. So
I don't like that trade at all. Josh Downs has been getting a ton of targets lately. You've severely downgraded at running back to minorly upgrade it. Not minorly, but moderately upgrade at two other positions. I just think you botched it.
Yeah. Well,
at 1-4,
that's too much.
Right.
Whatever. 1-4, you got to do it. I think that the clear winner here is the guy that just got Christian McCaffrey, who scored a touchdown in like 15 straight games or some shit.
13, but yeah.
13, whatever.
I would have really held it. I get trying to have to make the move if you're 1-4. Like you said, you have to change something up. But
just starting to kick off and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I love trade activity. I hope it works out for him.
Yeah. If it doesn't, he can't get much worse. So
right.
Yeah, he's got nothing to lose, so he's got to make the move. I think it's a very savvy move by the Christian McCaffrey owner.
Right on. That's all I had for you on that trade. It was just an interesting trade scenario that was shot over to me earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brandon and I disagreed on it, so I mean that usually means it's a good trade, right?
Right,
so,
right.
So, Al, you probably don't know anything about this, but last week we did the Saturday 6-pack while you were, I think you had a tummy ache that night, and so we're gonna go over some of Brandon's picks. So the first one we did was at quarterback.
They weren't good.
Was he picked Anthony Richardson over Kirk Cousins, which probably wouldn't have been so bad if Richardson didn't get hurt, right? Kirk Cousins didn't necessarily light it up, but Richardson got hurt, and then Minshew Mania came in and won on the ball game. The second one he picked Derrick Henry over Kyren Williams. I kind of think they're both very meh. I'm not sure if any of them had anything statistically worth mentioning. I know Henry sucked, but I did
win that one.
Did you?
I had to. Henry outscored him by a couple points, but they both were under 10 points. So
yeah, and then all I want to do is ask questions that are close on these. So when I see that the two people are close, then I know that I asked a good question.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and then the next one for running back 2 was DeAndre Swift versus Joe Mixon. You picked Mixon, and he got a lot of carries, but I think DeAndre Swift had the better game.
He did.
I would have picked Swift.
Actually, that was another close one. It was only, I think it was like 16-13 points wise, somewhere in there.
Whichever ones Brandon picked wrong, I would have picked right.
Yeah.
So the next one, I don't think so, because the next one was Jamison Williams versus Jerry Jeudy, and Brandon picked Jamison Williams. And Jamison had one incredibly big drop and 2 catches for 2 yards. Now, one of them was Marvin Jones's fault. It didn't come up for more because he completely spaced it. He chased Claypool the block. And Jeudy, I think, had like 6 for 50 or something. So that was a win for Jeudy. The next one was a big miss because somebody, I'm just going to talk a little bit about him after and give his props, was Adam Thielen versus Michael Pittman, and you picked Michael Pittman. We thought coming in that Cam Sutton was going to lock down Thielen, and watching that game, it wasn't that Cam Sutton had a bad game, is that Adam Thielen lined up all over the field. So Frank Reich and company were very creative on how to get Adam Thielen the ball. So he's definitely a bump up into how I viewed him. I've had no reason to watch Carolina Panthers football until they played my Lions. But seeing how they use him, I think Adam Thielen is a very comfortable wide receiver too, moving forward. Just watching how that offense moved him all over the field.
Yep, I agree. And for the record, I actually have Jerry Jeudy and Jamison Williams in one of my leagues, and I did start Jerry Jeudy over Jamison Williams.
There you go. Homer Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one.
That's all. Al was on the show last time talking about he's starting Jamison Williams in like 7 different leagues. This might have been like 7 episodes ago when Al was actually on it, but yeah, talk about Jamison Williams.
So, and then the last one at the tight end position, it was Dallas Goedert versus Kyle Pitts. 2 guys that I was actually kind of low on, and 2 guys that had pretty good weeks. And you picked Goddard, and you got that one right. He had a very good week. Pitts had a very good week for Kyle Pitts in Atlanta Falcons offense, but Goddard won that one. So all in all, I don't think you did too bad. I think the questions were pretty close. I think the only one that was a blowout was the receivers. The rest of them were pretty tight. So.
Yeah, Jeudy and Thielen, and like we talked about, we thought the Lions he got a lot of garbage time points too. The touchdown he scored, the game was way out of reach, and
that's gonna happen with that offense.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, that game, I thought it'd be a lot closer.
Well, their targets were pretty similar coming into the game, the 2 of those guys. But for Pittman, I think what we've seen is Josh Downs is starting to he's starting to get a bunch of targets. Josh Downs is coming up. So
the
dog at UNC, and he's finding his way in Indy.
With Pittman. So we talked about this a few shows back, but when Anthony Richardson's in the lineup, and this isn't a fair, or isn't it? It doesn't actually equate to what happened last week. But when Anthony Richardson's in the lineup, Pittman doesn't see as much, obviously in terms of fantasy relevancy. But when Minshew was in, he's done very well, except for last week when the injury happened. Minshew obviously came in, and Pittman still didn't go crazy. I think he scored 10 points, but I do still like Pittman with Gardner Minshew starting. And Josh Downs I think benefits as well with Gardner Minshew in that lineup. So I'm a big mustache mafia fan, so I hope he stays in. And I'd like to see him boost some of those receivers, mostly because I have Pittman in one of my leagues. So, but yeah, I do think that happens. Is Al gonna chug for his loss finally?
He's sipping, dude. Okay, Al's never gonna chug. So, yeah,
I did bring a chug beer in case you guys wanted me to own up to that tonight.
We did, since I already chugged a 16-ounce stout for my loss. So
did you really?
And yeah,
dude, I'm actually impressed with you. Last time you had to chug, the other time out of 3 times we've done this
twice.
So far. Yeah, so far you've had to chug twice. You chugged a little 12-ounce little baby beer.
Yeah, well, not this time, and I punished myself because I sucked this week, so I deserved it. But
you talked so much shit to me, telling me you were gonna beat my ass too, and I was gonna have to double chug.
That's the fun in it, and in the end of the day, I still have chugged 28 ounces of beers for my losses, and you have chugged 0 for your loss. So,
well, all I brought down to chug was a cherry wheat.
Are you serious? You're making fun of Adam. Do you hear this?
I don't want to hear it. I want to see it.
12-ounce baby beer, and then he brings a cherry wheat.
Let's keep talking.
Yeah. Oh my god. Anyway, those are all the topics that I had on the docket to talk about tonight. But some other interesting things is I guess we have the Thursday night preview. We have the Denver Broncos versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So how far deep are you starting Chiefs? Obviously, Mahomes, Taylor Swift. You're starting Pacheco. Probably Rashee Rice. Are you going in with how far? Tell me when to stop. Sky Moore.
No.
Kadarius Toney.
No.
Justin Ross.
No, definitely no.
Justin Watson.
No, definitely no.
Clyde Hilaire.
No.
I think Clyde
maybe
really sneaky.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, that's fair. Last time I feel like Brandon called Clyde Edwards-Helaire a sneaky play a few weeks ago, and it didn't work out. But
yeah, but this is the Denver Broncos, and they're fucked.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think you're not trying to run Pacheco into the ground because he's not exactly built for that.
Yeah, and so what Denver Broncos are you starting? Are you starting Russ?
No. I think no.
Are you starting the Mitch?
Depends on your situation, because Russ has been performing at quarterback.
He's been good
regardless of the team. He has been. Yeah, I think he's QB7. Russ or Gino.
The Chiefs' defense is too good. The Broncos cannot. I don't know. The Chiefs' defense is just too good for me to trust a sputtering offense.
Are you starting Judy and Sutton?
I'm probably starting Judy. I doubt I'm starting Sutton.
I think I would rank Judy probably in the top 36, and I'd probably put Sutton in the top 50 this week as far as wide receiver rankings.
If I'm starting somebody in the top 50, I'm pissed.
But it's bye weeks and stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
You might be fucked. You might have Justin Jefferson, and need to start him and another receiver that's hurt. Like, I'm in one of my dynasty leagues. I feel like I'm pretty strong at wide receiver, and I've had to start Sutton this year. I got Amon-Ra, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill. Those are my 1, 2, and 3, and I got Robert Woods and Cortland Sutton, and I've had to start Sutton and Robert Woods 2 more times than I planned on.
Yeah.
For the record, isn't that a 16-team league? So that's a super 14, so over 12. So it's a super deep league.
Deep league, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the reigning champ, so no big deal. But
Right. But if you're talking to a 10-team league, right, you're not starting those guys.
if I'm in a 10 league, the first thing I'm doing is leaving it.
I know you hate those leagues.
So
12 teams are bust. I know the.
yeah, like find something better to do with your time than looking waiver wires all the time.
So
I
will
rolling
say-
on Neil McLaughlin?
I'm not in on him. I'm not in. Maybe
That's about as
for-
50-50. It's about as 50-50 of a timeshare as you could really ask for out of that backfield between him and Samaje Perine, or however the hell you say his name. And obviously for fantasy that sucks.
Hasn't Perine like destroyed him? I thought the snap count was like 80-20.
Well, I mean, it was 9 carries to 6 carries last week. McLaughlin had 3 catches. Perine had 4 catches. Perine actually had 4 catches for 73 yards, which is pretty good. McLaughlin had 3 catches for 21 yards, but did score a receiving touchdown. 9 carries for 68 yards. So he's running the ball better. But they're splitting. They're splitting touches. They're going to go with the high end.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Yep.
To me, I'm just starting the guys that Pacheco is a must start. Obviously Mahomes, Taylor Swift. I'm probably starting Rashee Rice as like. I would start Judy over Rashee Rice, but I would start Rashee Rice over Cortland Sutton. But those are the guys that I'm interested in. Outside of that, I'm not starting anybody.
How about this? Here's a Sunday at 1:00 game with some implications, and I'm sure we'll touch more on this later this week. But San Francisco traveling to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland's defense has been very strong. It has shut down many a fantasy asset. You're gonna start Christian McCaffrey still. Are you looking at moving off of Brock Purdy this week? Are you still comfortable starting Ayuk and Debo? CMC's an auto start, but that Browns defense is fierce.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, Ayuk, I'm starting without a question. Debo, I'm all off of. If it just depends on how I feel about Debo. Me, no, but I wouldn't have him. So if you have Debo on your roster and he's slated as your wide receiver too, I'll make a comparison because it's relevant to our Thursday night conversation. I would probably start Cortland Sutton over Debo Samuel.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not.
Brandon, are you gonna add in on this on this topic too with the Cleveland San Francisco conversation?
Yeah,
All right.
I was.
While you're talking about it, I'm gonna go ahead and get this chug out of the way.
Good. Was waiting for it. I'm not sold on Cleveland's defense because of the teams that they've played. So let me just run through this to put it in perspective. They played week 1 against the Bengals offense that scored 3 points, and we know what the Bengals were doing at the beginning of the season. They gave up 22 points to the Steelers in week 2. 26 points and lost to the Steelers. The Titans, they gave up 3 points to the Titans. And the Titans are not a very powerful offense. And then the Ravens, they lost 28-3. So their defense has not been that stellar. Yes, they've shut down fantasy performers, but the teams that they've played have not been good at all. And I think San Francisco comes in and railroads them, and the fantasy guys produce far more than they have in the previous weeks. against Cleveland's defense.
All right. Well,
I didn't see what happened. What was your stupid chug thing? Adam was laughing.
I don't know. I think he's just laughing at me chugging a cherry wheat.
He looked like he wanted to cry.
We can't even
It's not good
we
beer.
can't even time it because it's a cherry wheat.
It wasn't a bad chug.
I've done better, but I've done worse.
So
But I'm not sold on Cleveland's defense. So go Niners. McCaffrey goes off.
All right, sounds good. Can't wait to tune in on later, next week and see that Brandon was wrong again. It's gonna be my favorite thing ever.
So
we should have a graphic bad takes by Brandon.
oh, that'd be a good show.
I think so.
I mean, if you were present for the shows, we had some great takes last week with Travis Etienne and Brees Hall, and then you decided to take him in the draft, but we had great conversation on those two. So
yeah.
I'm gonna keep on winning that draft, I think, and then watch you two chug.
Did you? You got. I'm not gonna say you got lucky because the points are the points. Devontae Adams fell asleep for me on Monday night, and I ended up like 3 points shy of beating you.
Yeah, I mean, because Devontae Smith tore it up. So
an L is an L.
yeah, you can't even. That exactly. Devontae Smith scored 1 point. So
yeah. Could have been worse. I could have been Brandon.
I was between Cooper Kupp and Devontae Smith, and I just I couldn't talk myself into Kupp first week back.
And you've been so high on AJ Brown lately too.
I was yeah, exactly, and I was nervous on so I didn't like that one, but I was like, oh, I can't do it. And then, but then the other one, it went the other way. I was torn on Achane and somebody else for my flex, and I went with Achane, and that worked out because he had that huge touchdown. But
yep.
I think that's everything we needed to talk about for tonight.
All right.
Yep.
So we will catch back with you guys on Saturday with another full episode with some Saturday 6-pack, and we'll do his starts and sits, and he's been pretty fire on those. I think he's probably been about 85-90% hit rate on those, so definitely want to stay tuned to those. And BPappy will continue to make some outrageous predictions that we'll just scratch our heads on. So
he only does it to piss me off. We know that.
And then when I'm right, it's even more fun.
Yeah, we haven't experienced it yet, but I'm ready for the party.
Keenan Allen. That's it.
Yeah,
Keenan
Allen was right on for sure. So steal your show a little bit here, Allen. As always, like and subscribe our show. Please, it means a lot to us. Comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like. Besides Brandon, we've gotten a lot of hate mail on Brandon. We're gonna keep him because he's our editor and he makes some pretty cool graphics. But yeah, just like, subscribe, share, comment, everything you can for us, please. We do appreciate it. With all that said, WNBA super fan, BPappy.
Las Vegas Aces.
Yes. Let's do this again in a couple days, all right?
All right.
All right. Adios.
Adios, fellas.